Hello and welcome. Today we are going to learn about phonetics. Phonetics is a branch of linguistics that studies the sounds of human speech. This is a very vast area, but in this particular session we are going to specifically learn about the organs of speech. Phonetics and phonology are used interchangeably sometimes, but there's a difference between both of them. So what's the difference? Traditionally, phonetics deals with measurable physical properties of speech sounds themselves. That is, precisely how the mouth produces certain sounds and the characteristics of the resulting sound waves. Whereas, phonology investigates the mental system for representing and processing speech sounds within particular languages. Let us see about phonetics and phonology in detail. The definition of phonetics says, phonetics is the study of the articulation, transmission and reception of speech sounds. Phonetics is the scientific study of the sounds of language. You may recognize the root word phone meaning sound. However, phonetics doesn't refer to just any sort of sound such as a door slamming. Rather, it deals specifically with the sounds of spoken human language. Let's move on to phonology. The definition of phonology says, phonology is the study of the sound system of a particular language and the combination and distribution of sound which occurs in that language. The human vocal system can produce a very large number of different speech sounds. Members of a particular speech community speaking that particular language, however, use only a limited number of these sounds. Every language makes its own selection of sounds and their arrangement into pattern constitute the phonology of the language. So that's about the difference between phonetics and phonology. As we know, today we are going to learn about phonetics, so let's start with the types of phonetics. There are three types of phonetics: articulatory phonetics, acoustic phonetics and auditory phonetics. Articulatory phonetics deals with the way in which the speech sounds are produced. Sounds are usually classified according to the position of lips and tongue, how far open the mouth is and whether or not the vocal cords are vibrating. Second, acoustic phonetics. It deals with the transmission. It is the study of the physical properties of speech sounds such as frequency and amplitude in their transmission. And third is auditory phonetics. It deals with how the specific speech sounds are perceived by the listener. It is the study of perceiving speech sounds. So these are the three types of phonetics. Let's move on. So let's begin with the main topic for today, that is the organs of speech. The organs which are used for production of speech, and that is why they are called as organs of speech, which play an important role in phonetics. The organs of speech can be divided into the following three groups: the respiratory system, the phonatory system and the articulatory system. The first is the respiratory system. This comprises the lungs, the muscles of the chest and the windpipe. The windpipe is called as trachea. Here in this image you can see these are the lungs, the muscles of the chest, and this is the trachea, that is the windpipe. As we all know, respiration involves two processes: inspiration, that is taking outer air into the lungs, and expiration, throwing air out from the lungs into the outer atmosphere. So when the airstream mechanism is used to push the air out from the lungs, say for example here in this image you can see, when the airstream mechanism is used to push the air out through mouth or oral cavity, it is called as egressive. And when the airstream mechanism is used to draw air in, it is called as ingressive. Next is phonatory system. This comprises of larynx, which is also known as voice box. The larynx houses the vocal folds, or which is also known as vocal cords, and manipulates pitch and volume. In the larynx are situated lip-like structure. They are called vocal cords or vocal folds. The opening between the cords is called glottis. You can see here This is the larynx. Here in this image you can see this is larynx. Inside the larynx, this is the larynx, and inside larynx there are these vocal cords, or which is also known as vocal folds, and the opening area is called as glottis, and above the vocal cords there is epiglottis. So the opening between cords is called glottis. The sounds produced with the open glottis are voiceless sounds. So when these two vocal cords are away from each other, that is, the glottis is wide open and then the sound is produced, it is called as the voiceless sounds. So what are the voiceless sounds in English? F, K, P, S, T, Ch, Sh and Th. Th as in thick. And all the remaining sounds are voiced sounds. That is, the sounds which are produced when the vocal cords vibrate or the glottis is closed. That is, these two vocal cords come together and they shut this cavity and then the sound is produced. It is called as voiced sounds. These are B, D, G, J, L, M, N, R, S, D as in this, V, Y and Z. These sounds are voiced sounds. Let's move on to the articulatory system. This comprises the nose, the tongue, the lips, the teeth and the entire roof of mouth, which includes the teeth ridge, which is also known as alveolar ridge, hard palate, soft palate, which is known as velum or uvula. Here in this image we can see, this image specifically represents the articulatory system. Here you can see the nose, lips, these are the lips, teeth, this is the nasal cavity, this is the tongue, parts of the tongue, tip, front and back. This is the oral cavity, here is nasal cavity. This is alveolar ridge, which is also known as teeth ridge. This is the area exactly behind our teeth. Then after, this is the roof of the mouth. It comprises alveolar or teeth ridge, hard palate, velum or soft palate, and at the end there is uvula. The study of how speech sounds are formed in the mouth or articulated is called articulatory phonetics. So this is about the articulatory. Let us see the types of sounds in English. Speech sounds are produced by the vocal tract, the mouth, nose, throat and lungs. There are three types of sounds in English: oral, nasal and nasalized. First, oral sounds. Sounds during the production of which the air passes through the mouth are called oral sounds. For example, P, T, D, S, etc. For example, here in this image, during the production of sound, the air passes through this oral cavity. Here you can see oral cavity. So the air is passing through the oral cavity or through the mouth, only through the mouth. Those sounds are called as oral sounds. Next is nasal sounds. Sounds during the production of which the air passes through nose is called as nasal sounds. For example, M, N, or the sound produced by ing. Here in this image, you can see the sound which is produced when the air passes only through the nasal cavity, not the oral cavity. The air is pushed directly towards the nasal cavity and oral cavity is shut, and then the sound is produced. That is called as nasal sounds. And the third one is nasalized sounds. Sounds during the production of which the air passes through mouth and nose simultaneously. There are no nasalized sounds in English. Here in this image you can see the air is passed simultaneously through the oral cavity, here through the oral cavity, that is through the mouth, and also through the nasal cavity, that is through the nose. And this action is happening simultaneously. Simultaneously the air is being passed and sound is produced. Those sounds are called as nasalized sounds. But we do not have any nasalized sounds in English. In Hindi, we have a sound. During the production of that sound, the air passes through the oral cavity as well as the nasal cavity. Let's see about the sounds based on lips and tongue position. Lips are an active articulators, so lips play an important role in producing sounds. For example, when we pronounce p, p, b, m, lips are tightly shut, and that is how lips help in pronouncing or producing the sounds. First case is lips are spread, that is they are unrounded. During production of few sounds, lips are spread or they get spread. Their shape is unrounded. For example, when you pronounce b, p or m, our lips get spread, they are unrounded. Second is neutral. During the production of few sounds, our lips are neither spread, they are not rounded, they are neutral. So sounds like f or v, our lips are neither spread nor unrounded. And finally comes the rounded ones. During production of few sounds, the lips are rounded. For example, O, Q, W, lips change their shape and they are rounded. Here you can see in this image, lips play an important part. Similarly, tongue position also plays an important role in producing speech sound. Tongue is a very important articulator and it can be moved into different places inside the mouth to produce different sounds. So here you can see this is the tongue in this image, and these are the parts of the tongue: tip, front, back of the tongue and root of the tongue. So the tongue is an active articulator. Active articulator means the one which is moving. Lips and tongue are active articulators. So the tongue moves inside the mouth, it touches various parts inside the mouth or the roof of the mouth and produces variety of sounds. For example, the tip and the blades of the tongue touch the teeth ridge to produce the sound T. T. For example, when you are producing the sound T, or when you are pronouncing the word T, at that time this tip of the tongue, it touches the teeth ridge, this area, and it produces the sound T. Second, the front of the tongue touches the hard palate, that is this part comes in contact with this hard palate. Here you can see hard palate. So when the front of the tongue comes in contact or touches the hard palate, and the sound is produced. For example, during year, when you pronounce or produce year sound, at that time the front ear or the blades touch the hard palate. And finally, the back or the root of the tongue touches the soft palate to produce the sound. For example, here, this is the back of the tongue. This is raised. The back of the tongue is raised and it touches the soft palate or the velum, and the sound is produced. Which are those sounds? K, G. So by pronouncing these sounds or producing these sounds, you can observe and see how the tongue position plays an important role in producing speech. So that is all about the organs of speech used in phonetics. These are the references. I have used these books or these documents. I have taken pictures from them. That is all for today. Thank you.